actually wrote the book, Point of Impact, published in 1993, upon which Shooter is based.
40 goats.
They're not on anybody's side. We don't have to shoot them.
I wanted to write a novel about a sniper. I'd read a biography of Carlos Hathcock, a Marine sniper. It's a very provocative book. Struck me that he was kind of the Faustian intellectual of war, in the sense that he learned things that no man ever learned, but at great cost. And the cost was his exile and his bitterness and his grief. And Carlos Hathcock lost a spotter in Vietnam, so I had Bob lose a spotter in Vietnam. Of course, the movie's been updated, so Vietnam hasn't figured in it, but there's still, I love that sense of grief. The sniper as a man of grief was something that I don't think anybody had ever gotten before.
It takes a long time to decide what piece of material you're going to turn into a movie as a director, for me, because you read it and then you connect with it, then you have to connect, then you have to look and see does it make sense as a movie. It may be great reading material, but doesn't necessarily translate on the big screen. So with this piece of material, I read it and I connected right away. It had all the elements for me. Conspiracy, government corruption, action, Mark.
I just thought for me, at this stage of my career, I'm looking for something that's really about the character. It's all about the characters that I'm getting to play now. For a long time, I made choices based on the filmmaker and not necessarily the role or the script. And now I'm just being a little more selfish and want to do things that I would want to go and see, and things that I think people want to see me in.
A lot of the PC things that have occurred in filmmaking and in literature, I think, have, and in our society, have sort of dulled that character. And Bob Lee Swagger is that man. You know, it's why I think of John Wayne. I think of some of the classic Western characters when I think of this guy.
This is the first movie where I had to run, and like there's helicopters and there's all these different explosions or whatnot. I'm shooting it, and it's really hard like not to get into it, because even though it's fake, you know what I mean? Like you're shooting at the whatever mercenaries that are set up, and you're like, ah, and you're just shooting away, and then the helicopter's coming down, there's like massive amounts of explosions. I gotta run up and down hills, and then, you know, hide for cover, you know, go up, bam, shoot. It's pretty cool, actually.
And when we say sniper in this movie, it's not like anything I've seen before, anyhow. You have to understand how long a shot really is. What we've always imagined is a fairly, not that far, you know, it's a fairly small sort of scope, and there they are right there. When you actually see the location of where one of the shots will take place to where it's going to hit, you can't even see it with your eye. So that takes on a whole different level of technique and skill and threat.
When I got involved with the script, me and Mark Wahlberg went to a sniper school with a guy named Patrick Garrity, who is a real Marine sniper.
And in addition to the obvious things, how to shoot, how to aim, how to hold the gun, how to clean the gun, the mechanics of what we were able to teach Mark. Patrick even worked in Mark in standing still, standing like a Marine, walking like a Marine, dropping into what Patrick would see as comfortable, and Mark thought, I'm standing straight up. It's like, no, that's how you stand when you're not doing anything. There's a sense of honor, even, that you can instill in somebody by just telling them about the events you've been through.
He does an excellent job because he picks up everything extremely fast. As far as the marksmanship and the weapons manipulation, just put him on a static range, on a known distance range, and we had him just blow through a few rounds first before I even taught him anything. And then I taught him different positions, how to manipulate the scope, how to judge the wind, you know, and then I started talking to him about marksmanship and accuracy. And that was pretty much the end of the first day.
These are your headshots. Perfect, perfect, a little bit right. Nice job on this target. This was your first shot, this was your second, and this was your third, you know?
That looks great.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I don't have too many shooters that can do that on their 6th hour of training, you know.
The second day, it got a little bit more intense. We did a lot more training. I took him to an unknown distance range where we just have targets scattered out there in the middle of the desert. And you're sitting up on a we call it Sniper's Point. at the top of a canyon, and started him at the close targets, and he's hitting everything all the way out to about 700 yards. And finally, we walked out to 900 yards, and I think he missed the first one. And after the first miss, made contact on the next one. Same thing out at 1,100 yards. And I was pretty excited that I could get somebody in 2 days to be able to hit at an 1,100-yard man-sized target. And he got on the phone and started calling all of his friends. You know, you won't believe what I just did. I just shot something 1,000 yards away.
It all comes to play when Mark's laying there, and there's a shot early on in the movie where Mark is shooting at 1,700 yards. And one of the things I really enjoy is, and I hope people who know the business will enjoy, everything that's laid out in front of him is correct. He's got a notebook in front of him with every shot that's ever been taken with that rifle. He's got the correct reticle on that rifle. He's got a ballistic computer. He's got the correct spotting scope. And when he lays there, he looks right. And that took a lot of time to get to.
I'm not an accurate sniper, but I learned a little bit about it. What's very interesting is a bullet literally will fall between 30 and 40 feet just because of the range. So when it's shot in an arc, not as we always imagine it straight. So that arc is calibrated to figure out how long it's going to fall, how much the wind is going to move it back and forth, how much the curvature of the earth is going to play into it, which is a really sort of mind-bending concept, and any other factor that could play into it, humidity, wind.
Some of these rounds do a lot more damage than they are portrayed in movies. You know, for example, the Archbishop assassination scene. From the distance that round's coming from, the trajectory of the round would almost come straight down on top of his head. The arc that it has to take from that distance. You know, from 1,000 yards, it's a little bit less. From 1,850, you're lobbing around out there, and it's going to come straight down on top of the head. Now, what happens there is, because of the caliber of that round and the hydrostatic shock that follows it, it peels you apart. You have limbs flying 200 feet away, and you're in 20 different pieces. They can't show that in the movie. That's a nightmare. So we do a really cool head gag and see how that works. A lot of blood spraying out. I don't really mind some of the inaccuracies because I understand the reasons behind why you have to do it this way or you can't do it that way. My job is just to make sure that, you know, he's walking, talking, and acting like a Marine Scout sniper.
You killed all three. There were four. Slow, smooth, smooth is fast. Let's see it.
We have this mantra that we use for the movie, where it's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Because in the middle of a firefight, or live ammo and rounds being shot around you, people trying to kill you, you know, you see a lot of people are fidgeting with guns and everything like that, trying to reload the weapon. Really being smooth and safety first, always going back to your training. They don't drill it into your head for no reason.
One of the things I learned is that it's important to break up your silhouette, it's important to break up the shine, and it's important to break up the shape of the human body. And throughout the years, the ghillie suit has been invented, which you'll see twice in the movie, once with Mark dressed in green and once in an Arctic camouflage ghillie suit.
What was kind of cool, I mean, on the one hand, you know, we had asked our sniper, Patrick, all right, what would you do in this situation? How would you hide? So he actually built the ghillie suit on the set. So we got to watch its entire construction, and when you put it on, it's sort of goofy because it looks a little bit like the Abominable Snowman or something. So at first you're sort of like, well, that's sort of goofy, and then you go, well, that's sort of logical, and then you see how effective that kind of cover can be.
This is an example of one of our ghillie suits we're using in the movie. It's the Arctic version of our ghillie suit. They've incorporated the camouflage techniques of the Vietnamese in Vietnam, tying natural vegetation into it or breaking up the outline with materials, as well as where the term ghillie came from, which is from Scotland, and the game hunters used to tie burlap sacks to themselves to break up their outline. This is an example of a desert ghillie suit. The colors are a lot lighter, more tan, sand, and dyed dead weed type color. There's not a lot of vegetation in the desert, but you can find spots where there's vegetation. The main thing that these ghillie suits are doing is you never see a perfectly straight line or a perfectly curved line out in nature. So when you see a perfectly curved line, you think it's a helmet, or a perfectly straight line would be something along the lines of an antenna off of a radio. So when you see somebody wearing a helmet, you can pick them out pretty easily amongst all the irregular shapes and lines in nature. So that's what this ghillie suit does, is it breaks up the outline.
Swagger, you gotta get out of there. They're everywhere.
Well, my approach always with action scenes is how do I make it real? As close to reality as possible. So I do a lot of homework. My process is to talk to the military guys. The things they know about killing people or blowing something up is fascinating.
You know, maybe offset a little bit, and then get as far back, at least right where it starts coming down.
Yeah.
Have him take a knee, like right around here.
Yeah,
He wants
yeah.
to take a couple shots, and then slide down from there.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing he's big on is, you know, don't make it look too perfect, because anytime you get into a situation like this or a combat situation, it doesn't matter how much you've planned, you're going to run into some snags as soon as you get inserted. So we're trying to not make it look like it's so easy for him, but at the same time make him look extremely proficient.
Shooting the big scenes are like always, man. It's non-stop. No, it's like going to war. Because you got to coordinate everything. You got explosions. You got to keep people safe. You got to make it cool. You got to get all the angles. You got to get all the shots. You know, you got to get a performance from the actors. The farm was difficult.
If you can imagine yourself, like, you know, as a kid, you know, when you play soldier or whatnot, and then you press buttons and you're like, right there it goes, but except it really does go off, you know what I mean?
Listen very carefully. On my one, you blow the pipe bombs, then the gas. 3, 2, 1.
There was this huge, massive explosion. I don't know how big it was, but, you know, I was behind the truck when they actually did it. And the force was just so great that your hair just went back. And I got really short hair, but it was like, shh. Oh, it was pretty neat.
Now, this is somebody's personal property, so not only am I trying to make a big action scene, I'm trying not to destroy the guy's home. You know? So that was kind of a tough job to do.
These are some of the weapons we're dealing with in the scene here at the farmhouse. In this scene, he's using our Remington 700, which is one of the signature rifles that the Marine Scout snipers use, so it'd be something that he's extremely familiar with. It's a .308 caliber weapon with a 10 power scope. Eventually, he picks up a few other rifles. We've got a G36 that the guards are carrying at the house, and this is a German assault rifle, and it actually breaks down to a subcompact rifle. We also have some mercenaries in the scene who are using the M4, and this is a subcompact, or it's a compact submachine gun with an extendable and collapsible stock. This is the rifle, this is the assault rifle that most of our military personnel use, the Army as well as the Marine Corps, Navy SEALs.
My character gets to shoot a couple people in the movie, and I'd never picked up a gun before or a shotgun. So I was really nervous about it at first, because I don't know, guns scare me. But then as soon as they taught me and I fired off a round, obviously blanks, I fired off a round of blanks. I actually had a really good time doing it, and I sort of felt like I conquered that fear.
We go all over the place with this movie. So we're in Africa, we see camels. We're in Washington, D.C., we're in Philly, we're in Baltimore, we're in Montana, we're in Virginia, we're on a glacier, we're in a city, we're on a highway. You know, you pretty much have everything we could throw at you.
We were shooting on a glacier for about, I think it was a week. And we had, the only way to get there was by helicopter and A bunch of us had never been on a helicopter before. I was horrified, so scared to get on. I really didn't want to, but you know, what are you gonna do?
Well, you got to chop her up and chop her back. And so, again, you know, we don't have infinite amount of money, so we don't have infinite number of choppers. So, you know, I'm at 752, Antoine's at 752, the next group comes up at 758, and it's a military operation. And then safety becomes really complicated up there because you don't want people falling off the edge, and you don't want people getting sunburned because it's so easy to do that, and you get dehydrated up there very easily. So you had to bring a tremendous amount of water, and it's just unbelievably complicated and beautiful, and it's otherworldly. So after a while, your mind's sort of in a different place, and that's when safety becomes really important, and reminding yourself to keep drinking water and all the things you have to do to maintain up there.
Being on the glacier from literally like 6 in the morning until 7:30 at night, we were on the glacier. It was cold. I mean, it's really, really cold. And the only place for us to sit, you know, we didn't have trailers or anything up there. There was just this small tent that fit about, I don't know, 4 of us or 5 of us or something. And it was the only warm place that we could go. So in between, we all bonded a lot. It was Michael and Mark and I, and we had a good time. You have to joke around because it's so cold and you're up there for so long. I mean, every 5 minutes we'd be asking somebody what time it is because time just went by so slowly because you're freezing. But it was so beautiful up there, and just like really surreal experience. When are you going to be on a glacier shooting for a week?
It's really mind-blowing. In fact, it's so beautiful at times where we're worried that somebody's going to go, well, yeah, that's a fake shot. That didn't happen. You know, look at that. That's a matte shot. And it's like, it's all real. And when you see the movie, it is all real. But it's so real that people sort of go, is that real? Is that really that shot?
We scouted it 4 or 5 times. And every time I was up there and I would talk to Lorenzo, I was just going, I got to shoot on this glacier. And sometimes Lorenzo would say, well, what about the other glacier? I say, I gotta shoot on this glacier. I gotta shoot on this glacier. It was just like spectacular. When the clouds, you're above the clouds, you know, and you're on top of nothing but ice. It's like being in another world, you know. So visually for me, I couldn't see doing it anywhere else.
Yeah, there's a couple of times when you just see like some crew guys or somebody and they're just off staring off, you know, and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, that's pretty good, eh? You know?
One of the fun things was I actually went back and did a lot of research into field medicine, which is where we stumbled across the strange fact that sugar is used to fight infection, is still used to fight infection, and has been used since the Napoleonic Wars, which is why we have Bob Lee go into a store and buy sugar and pour it on wounds. Once we were there, you might as well get a marinade injector and a couple bottles of water and salt and make your own IV. I actually called up someone who's a cook and said, if I had to do the following things, what do you have in your drawers that would help me? And after she got over her dismay and discovered I hadn't actually shot anyone, she walked me through everything that was in the drawers. And then I also talked to people who had done a lot of field medicine, read a lot of the manuals for emergency dressings, and we talked about what had to be done.
Yeah, I'm pretty squeamish. I would never be able to do that. I mean, I don't know. I guess you think you're not capable of something, but if you're thrown into a situation where someone that your husband loved, like a brother, really, is dying and you're the only person that can save him, I think that you would at least try, you know? And that's what she does.
And I like the fact that there is people out there that actually do this for a living. Some are hired mercenaries or whatnot, and some, do it as competition. But it does add that little bit of reality, and that, who knows, it might happen.
It's a really interesting group of people. We all hang out, and we all have a great time, and just doesn't feel like there's a lot of pressure. It feels like everybody's really working as a team and having a really good time while making a pretty serious movie.
Me and Lorenzo talked a lot about getting back to just making films. They made a lot of these type of films in the 70s that were just tough, and it was a guys film. It was a muscular film. You didn't try to shy away from being that. You didn't try and make him likable, really. You just cast the right guy. which was Mark.
This is a character that just had an amazing arc, all the things that he gets to go through, all the things that he has to do to achieve his goal, which is to prove his innocence, and kind of set the record straight and open some people's eyes. It was just an amazing ride.
In our world, it's very hard. There's a lot of forces that try to make movies compromised. Yeah, no, what I really want people to see is I want them to feel that it has a certain rawness, a certain truthfulness in its simplicity, that it's not trying to hide things. We're not trying to be more than what we are, and we're not trying to hedge what we are.
I'm a great believer in what I call the healing power of narrative, meaning you go to the movie and you forget who you are for 2 hours. You have a great time. You get excited, your heart beats, you laugh, you cry, and when you get out, you are refreshed, you are renewed. And if a story can do that for you, it's really helped you.
You know, I'm hoping the audience that finds this movie will be there for a lot of different reasons. I hope they'll be there for the action. I hope they'll be there for the conspiracy. I hope they'll be there for the love story. And I think one of the things that was challenging to us was to try to do all of that.